right, let's go Brandon Green. Another episode today. Pretty excited one actually. It's like getting a nutritionalist checkup, I guess, I suppose, because we've got the one and only Matty Lansdown from. He's the host and he runs the How to Not Get Sick and Die podcast. What are you? A health scientist and nutritionist? What are you?
Yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate you getting me here. But yeah, you bang on, man. Like I'm a nutritionist. Worked in hospitals for about 7 or 8 years as a medical research scientist, and now I help women and men, but mostly women, to get control of emotional eating and help them lose weight, fix their gut health, and that kind of thing.
Yeah, rightio. So, what were you doing in the hospital?
Yeah, I was part of a cancer research team. So I
Yeah,
was a molecular biologist, doing like DNA and genetic work associated with clinical trials for
yeah.
cancer therapy. So I was doing that for about 7 or 8 years, and just realized basically that I guess cancer therapy isn't designed to cure anybody. And if you go to the World Health Organization website, you'll see on their cancer page that it says diet, lifestyle are the two biggest factors for 90 to 95% of cancers. And I literally just was like, how come nobody here does diet and lifestyle? And we only do drug management, basically.
So they're saying that 95% of cancers are from what we've eaten, and then it results in a cancer later on.
Diet and lifestyle. So it's a combination.
Yeah,
I guess the big thing is that it's only about 5 to 7% of cancers that are actually genetic. But unfortunately, they've perpetuated this myth in society with the media, because the media gets hold of like one sentence out of a study or 3 words out of a study and says, "Oh my
clickbait
God,
before clickbait was around.
yeah."
Yeah,
100%, man. So we're in this situation where heaps of people just think cancer means bad luck, and actually we build cancer over many years through the foods that we eat, through the stressful lives that we live, through consuming toxins and plastics and all sorts of stuff. So the good bit of that story, though, is that 95% of the time you can do something about it.
yeah, right. Well, I don't know, man. I'm more on the side of it. It's kind of a luck thing because couldn't you have two twins and they all grew up under the same roof, and then like at 18, one gets struck down by? What are they in the 5%? Like,
Yeah, well, and that's a great question. Like, so all that situation is, if we think it's a luck thing, it just means whenever there's luck involved in anything, it just means we have a lack of information about what's going on. Because,
yeah,
and we're in this world where literally 90 to 95% of the population eat foods that are highly processed, that have a massive amount of sugar in them. Sugar causes cancer. Cancer cells consume sugar at 2 to 50 times the rate as any other cell. Sugar causes diabetes, it causes obesity, it causes dementia. And so most people eat these foods their entire lives, which is why I then became a nutritionist, because I was like, most of the problem comes from food. Food
mm-hmm.
leads to being overweight. Being overweight leads to modern diseases.
Everything. Because,
Yeah.
100 years ago, 70 years ago, 50 years ago, no one was overweight. 50, yeah, probably 30 years ago. And it wasn't really until you've seen the 80s, I guess, looking back
Yeah,
from
you're
what
right.
I've seen. But, all right, so, wow, that's pretty scary for someone like me I'm on a diet. I don't know if you know, but it's called PKU, phenylketonuria, and it's
Mm-hmm.
actually dubbed or nicknamed the sugar diet because
Mm-hmm.
we can't get any protein for energy. So always growing up, it was carbohydrates and sugar that was my fuel rather than like a solid bit of meat or something that you want to
Yeah.
have. But yeah, that's not very good news for me. But I don't know if too many phenylketonuria dropping dead because they're on the sugar diet. So like I said, I'm a bit skeptic. Ever since World Health Organization came out and said COVID wasn't airborne transmissible, like what were they like covering for China or something? There's going on, but yeah, it's like anything you read health related. I'm a bit like, and I'm not even in the health industry. I'm not trained about anything, but I'm just the common guy. But it's a
But
bit,
that's a good place to be, because it gives an indication. Like, even this conversation has reminded me what somebody that's not in health
yeah,
thinks about luck. So
yeah,
it's good, because I think this whole thing with COVID and the World Health Organization, and I've actually worked as a vaccine scientist myself, is that it's reminded everybody that, hey, governments and health industries are just capitalist organizations that want to earn lots of money like every other business that's ever been created. And
Yeah.
it's shocked a lot of people that a lot of industries that they trusted don't tell the truth. And I think that's a good wake-up call for the world.
Honestly, man, I was one of those people that people used to say, "Oh, it's all about money, big pharma." I was like, whatever. And then now I'm like, because I used to think, no, they would care about that more than money, surely. No. And now it's like, wow. It's obviously the other way around. And I'm happy to have that debate with anyone because, man,
Same.
I'm unvaccinated. I can't go into a restaurant up here still. Like,
I'm with you, bro. I'm on the same page.
yeah, well, I'm going to give it to someone or something. Like, everyone's getting, oh, man, it's a crazy thing, but
It is.
yeah. What? So you're a vaccine scientist before, and you're unvaxxed?
Yeah, man, that's my first job in my science career was as part of a vaccine inoculation team in just like a lab here in Melbourne. And yeah, based on, and it wasn't a long part of my career, but based
Yeah.
on what I know and understand about viruses and vaccines, which is more than 99% of the world's population, though there's lots of people smarter than me, what I know, I ain't going to make the decision to put that stuff in my body.
Yeah, man, it's been out for a few months, and now it's coming out that they hid all the stuff. Oh man, you can go on for days. I've stopped.
Oh, it's a rabbit hole, man.
Because what was that?
It's a rabbit hole, right?
Yeah, it is, and it's gone on too far, and it's too long, and it's really I can't leave Australia because I'm a threat to Australia for leaving Australia or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know, man. It's same for me.
Yeah, so we're in the same boat there. Cool. So more to do with this eating sugar is pretty bad, and to do with the gut health. What have you noticed there? So, because our gut should be full of good bacteria, and like it's got to be in balance there. And if someone overloads it, they can get it all out of whack. And your gut, and I personally know firsthand that your gut really is your second brain, because the stuff that can go off there, like make your brain go, like near enough. I was having hemiplegic migraines, and it was actually being set off from like I'd have diarrhea at the same time, and they were near enough like stroke kind of things. I'm not sure if you've heard of them before. They're a rare type of migraine, but
yeah, no, I have heard of them. Yeah,
they're quite crazy. So what do you know about the gut brain?
Yeah. No, that's a good question. So, because a lot of people think about like our emotions, like anger, happiness, frustration. They think about emotions as if they're in the brain, like in the head, or they're outside the body, like they're just feelings and they're not real. But the actual fact is that a lot of the hormones, like your serotonin and dopamine, but they're both happy hormones, or your cortisol and your adrenaline, they're both stress and anger and frustration hormones. They're at most of the receptors, and where they're released is in the gut, which is why we have the expression, you have a gut feeling. Or when you get nervous or scared or angry, you feel sick because those hormones have just been dumped in massive amounts in your stomach. So that's like, and that therefore sends messages to your brain, which says, we feel a certain way. So feelings, they're chemicals, they're hormones, they're electrical impulses, they're real things that a lot of people sort of, think are just like, oh, feelings don't mean anything. It's like, these are actual things in your body that are shaping your neurons, shaping your gut. And the more we have those experiences, it affects the food that we put into that gut, because we've got all these stress hormones hanging around, so we don't digest food properly. We kill certain species of bacteria that are really useful, and it drives us to eat sugary foods. And when I say sugary, I mean packaged, ultra processed stuff, not your healthy carbohydrates like your plants and that kind of thing.
Because I've noticed now I can no longer tolerate muesli bars. What's going on there, would you say?
Yeah, it's a good question. I would say most people should generally avoid processed grains anyway.
Yeah.
The way that we process grains in the modern world is not what we used to do for the thousands and thousands of years before, the last 100 years, basically. And the human body takes thousands of years to evolve, to adapt to a change. And so we've just changed the entire food system in
a few decades.
Yeah, totally. And so we've got these guts and all these diseases and all these problems that come from food because we're not actually eating food anymore. Like food should be something that looks like it came from a farm, should be a plant, it should be a nut, a seed, should be meat. that type of thing. And anything beyond that that's been changed, yes, there are a few things in the food industry that are good and beneficial, but what we're seeing is that, yeah, like we just said, a few decades ago, there was no obese people anywhere. Like, it was rare to find that. And now the whole world is overweight, sick, or dying of something.
Right. That's a scary concept, and we've seen like more things come about, like a big one, H. pylori. A lot of people are now getting that in the modern world. Why would something like that be, Helicobacter pylori, be more prominent?
Yeah, that's a good question, and it's the same with like Candida. Candida is it's a
Candida,
yeast
another one.
infection.
Yeah,
Yeah, and that's again coming back to the diet. And as scary as some of this information might be, the beautiful thing is it's diet and lifestyle medicine. You can just get up tomorrow and make a different choice about what you purchase, the way you think about health, the way you think about, the way that you fuel your body, that you build your body, because your cells are literally made from the food that you put in. And the entire
you
body's
are
worth
what
of
you eat, man.
cells. Yeah, it's corny, but it's true. Like, if you don't put the right stuff in, you're building a body that's made out of McDonald's and chocolate, and that's like building a house of cards, basically. So we're eating such restrictive diets now, which is just super high sugar. Like, there's a lot of products on the market that have been on the market for decades that have the same recipe that they were 40 years ago or 50 years ago, that now just have 8 or 10 times the amount of sugar, because culturally we've just gone up and up and up and up. And that used to be sweet 50 years ago, and now if we ate that now, we'd be like, "There's no, this isn't sweet at all." So
Yeah,
we've got it. We can unwind that, in our bodies by just starting to eat whole, real food, but also understanding why am I addicted to sugar? Like, why do I keep going to these unideal food choices that don't help my body move in the right direction?
right. And that comes down to comfort eating. So a lot of women, I've even got a mate who comfort eats 20 kilos at a time and then goes to the gym once a year. He'll do that for 3 to 6 months, lose it all again, get
Mm-hmm.
set back in his rut. Oh,
Yeah.
man, like, don't girls comfort eat? What are you doing? Like, I don't know, because I can't
Every,
relate.
everyone does.
Oh,
Everyone does.
really?
And
Yeah.
the thing with men is that we don't talk about it. It's normal for women to cry, to share, to express their emotions. It's not normal for men to be like, "Oh, I don't comfort eat. I don't do this." It's not normal for us to do that, but we all do. Like, otherwise, nobody would be overeating all the food that they shouldn't eat. Like,
Yeah,
so
I
it's
guess
the same for
he's the
men.
only one labeling it, whereas you could
Yeah,
look at a fat
exactly.
person and be like, you're comforting me.
Yeah, and it might not be comforting because, like, I
You might
call
not
it
realize. Yeah,
yeah, I call it with my clients. I call it mood food,
yeah,
because we can comfort eat because something good has happened, like a birthday party. There's chocolate cake around, so that's a good emotion, but we're still eating sugar. And then we can have a really bad experience and go, or somebody could die, or we could break up with a partner, and then we're eating the same types of food. It's just a different set of emotions. So I think, yeah, the issue is that a lot of people don't have tools to actually deal with the emotional experience, so they just stuff them down with food, whatever that experience is.
right. And how's the best way for people to get out of this comfort eating? Is it something they have to say in their head? Like, he has the first of every month. He goes, "I'm gonna be clean." I guess that's the only real way how you can do it. How else can you do it? Like,
Yeah, well, I guess the first step that I find is that most people don't really know. And it's like the conversation we're having. Maybe this is the first time people are hearing this stuff. So you have to understand the past. How did I get here?
yeah,
Like, what decisions did I make and why did I make them? Because you can't change. And that's why a lot of people fall off diets. They haven't looked back and been like, why did I end up in this situation? Because once you actually understand what has happened, you can be like, okay, now I can make a different choice. Whereas lots of people just try and grit their teeth, willpower, I'll be right. And it basically has never worked for anyone. Like, that's why everybody fails at diets. That's why the world keeps getting sicker and more overweight, because that's the wrong way to go about trying to be healthy.
yeah. And on your podcast, what do you cover on that?
Yeah, so it was referred to recently by a friend as like a one-stop shop. So it's like I talk a lot about nutrition. I talk a lot about psychology and mindset, about the kind of stuff I'm talking about now, like how to actually get your mind into a place where you can change your food behaviors or change your sugar addiction or be able to lose weight long term. So I talk a lot about that. I get lots of guests on in different areas of medicine and fitness and disease and stuff like that. So everything health related. That's why I called it "How to Not Get Sick and Die." So if
Yeah.
you want either of those things, then we'll help you out.
And I guess, um, what would you say in terms of supplements? Like, what are ones that people should definitely take? Some that should be taken when needed to be. Like, is there any like one one day a pill a day thing? Like, what? Yeah, what's your go to supplements that a lot of
Yeah,
people
so
should know about that they don't know about?
yeah, good question. So I think there's lots of supplements, and it's the same kind of marketing conversation we started with about big pharma, right? Like there's lots of marketing because like these companies are like, oh, everyone's lazy. They're not going to eat properly. They're not going to do anything. So we'll sell them this pill and we'll make it sound amazing. So there's tons of that. However, because for thousands of years we literally walked around outside,
Yeah,
vitamin D is super important because we're now inside 90% of the day. And so if not more, right? And even when we're outside, it's usually just our face and our hands. So vitamin D3 and K2 combination, that's the one people want, not just vitamin D by itself. Because
the vitamin
K2,
K helps it be
yep,
absorbed, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yep, you bang on. And most people aren't eating correctly enough to get enough K2 into their diet. So a lot of people supplement D3 and they go and get their levels checked and their
Still the
levels are
same.
up, but their issues aren't changing because it's just
Ah,
sitting in the blood. It's not being absorbed by the cells
yeah.
because there's not enough K2 there. So yeah, I think the number one go-to supplement that's related to all diseases, deficiency in vitamin D, depression, anxiety, cancer, diabetes, the whole lot, is vitamin D deficiency. So vitamin D3 K2 complex is the one that I would advise basically anyone to take.
Yeah, and people, there's a thing about darker people not being able to absorb the like the vitamin D from the sun as much.
Yeah, no, that's totally right, and that's part of like globalization. The
Yeah,
fact that we can all move around to different parts of the earth
different
now.
parts of the earth.
Yeah, like for me,
Like
I'm
you and me,
obviously
we're Irish white or
yeah,
something like.
yeah, totally. And it means in summer we go outside and get burnt to a crisp, whereas Aboriginals who are native to this land
Yeah.
have darker skin, so their skin is designed to protect them, you know. So that's one thing we've got to be careful of. Because a lot of, if you go to like Central America, which is right in the middle of the earth, the Caribbean, they're like really, really dark skinned, like really black. And
Yeah.
that's because they are the closest to the sun because they're in the middle of the
Okay.
earth, right?
So you're
And that's
saying, is that how, I have no idea about this, but is that how like we go forward as the human, like mine and your grandchildren, they'll be naturally darker because they're adapting to the earth? Is that how it works?
I would say yes, but if we were like still outside, like if we were still outside, that would
Ah,
definitely
yeah,
happen.
but because
Because
we're
we're
not,
inside,
we might
basically
actually go
everyone's going to
whiter.
get whiter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So what was going on with Norway, Norwegians and all the Scandinavians? They're like transparent. What?
Yeah. Well, when you get up there, some of the governments up in those countries, like Greenland, actually supplement, like financially supplement the population for vitamin D because the sun isn't even up for like several months of the year. So,
Yeah.
and it's so closely connected. Vitamin D is so closely connected with anxiety and depression as well. So, you know, even if you're in Australia and you think, oh, it's sunny here, we spend 95% of the day inside.
Yeah. Right. Or we get
Yeah.
smoked outside, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah.
I have cancer in basically 30 minutes.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So, well, Australia does have a high skin cancer rate, so
Yeah.
that's how that all works. And so just more on your podcast. How long has it been going for? And what do you have any guests coming up? Like interesting
Yeah.
guests?
Yeah. So I've got, it's been going for 3.5 years now. It's on almost up to episode 180, which is pretty cool. Actually, I did episode 180 yesterday. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, it's been growing super well. Interesting guests coming up. We've got some fitness instructors like Pam Sherman. She helps women over 40 and 50 actually stay in shape as they get a bit older. So she's cool. I talked to her recently. Who else? We've had Dr. John DeMartini on, which is really cool. He's pretty big in the mindset and personal development space. Hormone specialists coming up, Karen Martell, sugar, freedom coaches coming up, which is cool, blood sugar stuff, diabetes stuff. So yeah, there's lots of cool people coming on.
What do you know about diabetes? Like, do you work with much diabetes or anything?
Yeah, yep. I have a bunch of diabetic clients.
Yeah, okay. And what do you think about the new one coming out, type 3 diabetes, where you can put insulin into you, but it does nothing because you're pretty much acting like a type 1 as well. So it's really not good.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, Alzheimer's is actually the thing that they're calling type 3 diabetes.
Okay.
So yeah, so it's like it goes from type 2 and then ends up also affecting the brain and your memory, and that just further illustrates the fact that consuming sugar is extremely destructive to biology. And again, to reiterate, sugar by the unnatural amounts of sugar that are added to food, that are in the lolly aisle, in the chocolate aisle, like none of that stuff is designed to go, be good for the human body. It's yes, it might give you energy, but it's really crappy source of energy. So yeah,
All right.
there's
So what do you know about the fake sugar, the Spartmy and
there's
all
about
that?
260 of them now.
Yeah,
There's
is
that.
there? What is it?
Yeah,
Sucralose. There's a
yeah. There's
million. I got to keep checking with them because some of them are high in phenylalanine, and I've got to. I give up. I just don't have it. They're only in bad stuff anyway, aren't they?
Yeah, totally. You're totally right. So, and that's the safest way to go about it is just, buy things that look like they came from the farm. Make sure, and this is for obviously not like your situation, but pretty much everyone should be focusing their attention on protein when they eat, especially if you're diabetic. But everyone on the planet should be focusing their meal intake on protein unless you have an issue with metabolizing protein, because protein is the fuel that builds cells.
What about? Have you ever
So
come across people like bodybuilders and that have too much protein and their CK levels go right up? Do you ever
yeah,
see anything like
totally.
that?
Yeah, totally. People can have issues with that, but I've actually never really seen like a physical problem. Like, yeah, their levels might go up, but I've never seen somebody be in pain or like bleed or have any sort of damage. If you've already got kidney issues, then that's a time when you might, because your kidney filters the excess protein. That's a time where you might want to be careful, but only if you've already got the issues. I've never seen kidney issues created
Yeah.
because of a high protein diet. Usually, with your bodybuilders, what's actually going on there is that they're just supplementing through the absolute roof with all these different chemicals that are trying to make them,
Yeah.
grow, whether it be steroids, whether it be testosterone, all this stuff. And actually the kidneys are struggling to
Filter off.
filter all of these artificial chemicals.
Yeah. Okay. And these people then get like recurrent rhabdo and all this stuff. Like, it's not good.
Totally,
Yeah.
yeah.
So we advise against that, do we?
Yeah, whole real food is
On
where you need to
record.
be at.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Because one thing I did notice, I went to North Korea for a few days, and I came back from there, and my poo was just like so big and like perfect for like a week after that. I thought there was something wrong with me. Do you think that was because I was eating like their organic vegetable or something was going?
100%.
Yeah.
Yep, 100%. And most people that like shift over to eating in a really healthy way, they might actually have some gut issues for a couple of weeks because their gut needs to spend time to like adapt and build new colonies and bacteria to be able to do that. Because some people try to go healthy, and in 3 days they're like, "Nah, felt like shit." I got bloated, but it's actually like, "Nah, your body needs to adapt,"
Work
and then in a
out.
couple of
Yeah.
weeks,
It's got a new
you'll be
fuel
good.
coming in. Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. It's got to work out how to use that. So what in terms of someone just getting their gut bacteria better, what would you recommend there? Is there any specific probiotic or
Yeah, totally. So first, I would start with just adding diverse colors. So you want different colors from different vegetables, different types of food. Just because the more different the things that you put in are, the more diverse your gut bacteria will become. And then if you need to add and grow, which I would encourage everyone to do, is things like fermented foods. So like kimchi, sauerkraut, and basically any food that you can ferment, which is almost any vegetable. But they're really good to add into the gut because they have a natural supply of bacteria. And the good thing about them compared to probiotic, like in a capsule or in a chemist or a pharmacy, is that the ones in the chemist and the pharmacy, they're dead. Like they're frozen, they're freeze dried, but they're actually dead. Whereas when you eat sauerkraut or anything like that out of your fridge, it's got on average 10 times the amount of bacteria, which is great. And it's alive. It's actually living.
because I've actually had so much of that like real heavy probiotic stuff where I've had like crazy dreams and stuff. Have you ever had that? Where you've
I've definitely heard of
near
that.
overdose, and then it turns out it's a thing where you can get crazy dreams from having too much of it, but they were cool drinks.
Totally.
Lucid
Yeah, and if
dreaming.
you get it in the diet, you'll get a more balanced group of bacteria. Like the ones at the chemist are usually like the packet will say billions and billions of this species, and maybe you'll get 5, 10, 30 species. But in sauerkraut that's been fermented naturally in the cupboard, there's usually a really healthy balance of about 300 different species.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of one you want to go towards. However, a bit of a warning for everyone: start small. Because if you go big with sauerkraut for the first time, you will just clear out. You'll get diarrhea because you're just sending a heap of good guys in to clean up,
Yeah.
and they'll clean up super fast, and you'll be running to the toilet. So literally, I encourage people per day just start with a teaspoon for like a week, and then slowly build up.
Of sauerkraut.
Yeah,
Sauerkraut kimchi, same thing. It's just German Korean or something, isn't it?
yeah, 100%. Yeah, and if you look into the history of every culture on the earth,
They have this.
fermented food is a part of that for that reason.
And we don't have it in our Western diet at all, unless it's a one-off thing. But you think, and that makes sense to keep it on. Maybe that's what I had, a heap of kimchi in North Korea, North Korean kimchi. Maybe that's what set me off.
Maybe.
Yeah. The other thing is nightshade. So you hear a lot about they're the worst. Inflammation. Like, have you heard this about the nightshades? What do you think? Because I love night, and they're all, when you say colors, they're every color of the rainbow.
Yeah, it's a great question.
Capsicum.
I think there's two things to talk about in this conversation. One is that it sucks that famous people with massive platforms are scaring people away from vegetables. Because lots of people are now getting scared of eating the food that they need to eat to recover their body, to lose weight, to get healthy again. And so we've got these people that are like, oxalates are bad, and oxalates are in basically anything that's green. And then nightshades are bad, which is, in the rest of the colors of the food. And so there's a very small percentage of people that should steer clear of nightshades. And the other question is to ask, why do I need to steer clear of oxalates or nightshades or a particular group? And usually that's not because the fruit or the vegetable is the problem. It's usually because the Western diet we've consumed for our whole life, 30, 40, 50, 60 years, has caused gut dysbiosis or leaky gut. So we've got little holes in the lining of our stomach. And so molecules are crossing the barrier that shouldn't. And so then we end up blaming the nightshades, or we end up blaming the lectins or the so it's not necessarily 100%. Perfect word. So I would start people on being like, hey, let's go back to basics and rebuild your gut and rebuild your body, and then maybe nightshades won't be a problem. You might need to take them out until you get there, if they are causing you issues. But I think the main thing is to not scare people away from veggies. Like, veggies are so good for you. And at the end of the day, like if you're 100 kilos overweight, or you've got serious gut issues, like lectins is like, nightshades is like the needle in the haystack. It's not, if you find it, it's still not going to make you lose that weight unless you start eating properly.
Yeah. Okay. And then, one final thing. Heard a lot about the new rage, medicinal mushrooms. What can you say on that? And they reckon that you're taking it, and there's studies have proven they believe that it's helped like reverse some cancers, and what's going on there? These things look promising.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because I have a book on my desk right here called Magic Medicine, and it's all about magic. Yeah, it's all about magic mushrooms. So it's funny you mentioned that. But there's lots of research out there. There's a website called mushroomreferences.com, which has got all of the research on psilocybin and magic mushrooms for anxiety, depression, healing, your past traumas. They've tested it on prisoners, and their reoffense rate has dropped massively.
Wow.
And it's a tool that's been used in many cultures for thousands of years as well. So I think we just need to learn how to use it again.
Yeah.
It used to be looked after like by the elders of tribes and the elders of community, and only certain people were allowed to use it once they respected it. Because you can go on one hell of a journey, like one hell of an experience, and if you don't have the maturity to navigate that, then you can end up in a dark place. But I think there's lots of great tools in the world, and as long as we learn how to use them and respect them and engage with them in the right way, then we can get the best out of them.
Yeah, and keep putting pressure on Big Pharma to
not.
Yeah, my eyes are you're a bit more open now. It's like the crazy people 2 years ago now. It's like, wow, they're actually making more sense than the people. Trust the science. Well, fuck. If you actually took a minute to look into the science, you're not trusting any science. You're trusting a paid scientist on TV, man. There's a guy on
100%,
bloody
man.
TV up here every day, infectious disease expert, the same one, sitting there. Now he just looks to me like, just give it up, mate. Take your check and go on. But he's there every day, spruiking the same thing. Wear your mask, even though there's, oh, fuck off.
Yeah,
man.
no. It's, like I said, I reckon the last 2 years has been good. It's woken a lot of people up to realize
Even
that,
people like you in the industry that thought you knew it already and you still learn it. Like,
yeah. Well, I already knew, which is why I'd been building my podcast for like the last 4 or 5 years.
yeah.
And so I was lucky that when all this started to unfold, I just handed my resignation in. I was just like, no, I'm not going to be a part of this. And I even challenged my professors and stuff like that, who literally said to me, they said, I love what you're doing. I love what you stand for, but we've got mortgages to pay and we've got to do what we're told. And I just said, I can't hang around those kind of morals and ethics.
Yeah, right. So I got COVID. I said to the doctor, yeah, I got COVID. You weren't vaccinated. I said, no. Oh, do you want to get vaccinated? You should get vaccinated. I'm like, man, fuck. What the hell?
That's like bringing condoms to a baby shower.
Yeah. Man, yeah, exactly. All right, so yeah, you're good. You speak well. We can a lot to learn from you, and we want to keep following you. So where can we find you?
Yeah, sweet, man. So, how to not get sick and die on the podcast airwaves.
Yeah.
My website will be up pretty soon, which is just mattylansdown.com. And if you're a mum, I have a Facebook group called the Busy Mums Collective for mums that are wanting to start to get healthy and begin their journey.
All right, cool, man. Well, you have a cracker of a day, and I'll definitely be tuning in the future because I like someone that's not paid off and we can listen and learn, and you're doing the research. Look at that. You got a mushroom book right there, man. He's running the own show.
Thanks, Brandon.
Yeah.
I appreciate you getting me on, man.
No worries, man. You have a good day. Enjoy the rest of your day.
You too. See ya.